What it do, Sober Soldier, salute. This is Stick from Dead Prayers with my partner, M1. And you are in tune to gotkushTV.
There was empires in Africa called Kush, Timbuktu, where every race came to get booked. My success to you, even if you wish me the opposite. Sooner or later, we'll all see who the prophet is.
Achomi na ajele gbojo kwe ni biane nyenko gotkushTV nyeyiradon. My name is Na Ajele Gbojo Kwe, and right now you're watching gotkushTV. Thank you.
Every year in the month of May, we chant liberation. We gather every year in the month of May, 'cause we are one black nation. And we celebrate all our victory and prepare for each new fight. We vanquish you all down, Greta, whether black, yellow, brown or white. 'Cause black struggle international in this year time, and we want liberation now. After we struggle, I want in North America, me say we want liberation now. After we struggle, I want in the Caribbean, me say we want liberation now. After we struggle, I want in Canada, me say we want liberation now. After we struggle, I want in South America, me say we want liberation now. After we struggle, I want in Europe, me say we want liberation now. After we struggle, I want in Britain, man, me say we want liberation now. After we struggle, I want in Asia, me say we want liberation now. After we struggle, I want in Australia, me say we want liberation now. And so we trot down the road and it a cause sensation. Behind the colors of the new black nation, I step into the valleys in the shadow of the wicked, just a chant liberation. Tell it to the nation, what we want to see is Africa strong and free. We sing it in a reggae song all the time. Say what is to be has got to be. Africa shall be free. Who are we? Africans. What do we want? Freedom. And we say, how do we get it? Fight. We must fight to defend the truth and defend the right. It's Africa Liberation Day. The true black spirit is here to stay. Before this power, no one life is here. Freedom come, what me? Freedom come, what me? And the white them who were standing by were watching fearful, wondering, saying, who are these people who walk so proud? Who are these people who chant so loud? Are these not they who live in darkness and to whom we have given light? Are these not the sons and daughters of the savage who we have taught to read and write? Have we not taught them our history and honor them with our culture? And brought them into our great house to serve and stand at our great table? Have we not granted them what they deserve? Well, African proverbs say that only those who can listen can learn, and who can hear go and feel. We are the sheep of your pasture, and now we shall inherit our land. And we are also the lion, against whom none shall stand. We are the sons and daughters of the original nation that gave to this world first knowledge of civilization. We were the victim of the white savage to whom we stretch out our hand, and not knowing they came to plunder, kill and slave our people and destroy our land. So now we step it down the road and it a cause sensation behind the colors of the new black nation and a one chance liberation. And we say, who are we? Africans. What do we want? Freedom. And we say, how do we get it? Fight. We must fight. We defend the truth and defend the right. This is Africa Liberation Day. A true black spirit is here to stay. We bow this power, no one life this day. Freedom come, what me? A freedom come, what me? A freedom come, what me? What me?
Fire burn them dirty king, blaze up them dirty king, fire burn them king. Send him disastrous, and time he fast with us, ancestors walk with us, fire burn them king. Ghana, democracy under fire. Delving deep into the political theater of Ghana in the lead up to the general election in December 2024. We welcome activist, organizer and writer Bonchi Anyete as our regular co-host and analyst, breaking down the dynamics in his unique and entertaining way. Tune in to our very first show, Decoding Ghana's Political Theatre, Tuesday, the 27th of February, 2024, from 8 p.m. GMT, live on gotkushTV. And we look forward to you joining us every fourth Tuesday of the month throughout 2024. Ghana, democracy under fire. This is a show not to be missed. Tendai Mwadi, be thankful unto the Mother, Father, creative life force of the universe. Kudzai, Modzimu, Mokuru. We give praises unto our great ancestors, Abibi Tumi, Abibi Fahodie, African power and African liberation for all African people. Greetings and welcome, brothers and sisters. Today is Ojima Day, Tuesday, the 12th of the month they call March, and you have joined us for another edition of ZIVANAYI. ZIVANAYI, the beautiful word spoken in the Shona language, which is mostly spoken in the beautiful nation of Zimbabwe, which simply means let us get to know each other. Yes, indeed, we are emphasizing our social relationship in terms of where Rastafari call groundings, groundation, our reasoning. This is our reasoning platform today, brothers and sisters. Yes, indeed, we're there. And we look forward to you joining us for the next couple hours or so as we engage in some edifying and uplifting conversation as African people from a universal African nationalist, that is to say Garveyite, that is to say Pan-African perspective, kings and queens. Yes, indeed. Make we talk, 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 make we talk. We encourage you to hit up the like button as you come through. Yes, indeed. Hit up the like button as you come through. Share the link. Share the link far and wide. Let the people them know that ShakaRa is live on gotkushTV, and we are going to be discussing today confessions of an intellectual mercenary. Confessions of an intellectual mercenary. We will be building on our conversation from last week concerning the growth and development of the black conservative industrial complex among the black community in the UK in particular and in the black world in general. Yes, indeed, brothers and sisters. Trust me, I don't want to miss this year one year. All right, I don't want to miss this year one year because we're gonna profile a little story that, you know, is about 6 months old right, you know, but hasn't really gotten much media traction, although it's very serious. Yeah, very, very serious indeed. All right, so stay tuned for that. So we encourage you once again to like up the video, share the link far and wide, and we also, if you are so moved, would welcome you joining our Patreon. Yes, indeed, join our Patreon, brothers and sisters, and support gotkushTV. We appreciate all your support in advance, and I should let you know also that we are gearing up towards producing some Patreon exclusive content, yeah, you know what I'm saying, as perks for our patrons. We're gonna have our perks as well when we start doing events later this year and in the coming years. So do stay tuned for all of these things. We look forward to you joining us and being a part of our growth and development as we build up towards producing packaged and produced content for you all, brothers and sisters, which for those of you who have been with us for a few years, you know, that's what we really specialize in. We have to build back up to that point, brothers and sisters. So, you know, we're there. We are going to be opening up the lines in a few moments, brothers and sisters, and the link is pinned to the top of the chat. The link is pinned to the top of the chat for those who would like to come through and join the panel. One person has already done so, and so you can feel free to do so, and I'll be bringing you through once I've gotten through my initial thoughts and feelings for today's ZIVANAYI session, brothers and sisters. In the meantime, between time, feel free to @gotkushTV. We encourage you to @gotkushTV if you would like your comment read out, your comment or your question read out. Please @gotkushTV and or fling in our Patreon. What I'm calling it again? A super chat. Yes, indeed. You can utilize the super chat feature. We encourage that and give thanks for those who do that in advance. Bigging up those who lick up the super chat button. Yes, indeed, brothers and sisters. Madasi. Thank you. We appreciate you all. But even if you don't lick up the super chat, we will still read out your comment just so long as you @gotkushTV. That just helps us to be able to differentiate between the comments that are intended for us to read and those that are comments between the chat. We, generally speaking, have quite a robust chat section where people get into all kind of different debate in the chat, yeah, and we encourage that. We love that. And so we recognize that some people want their actual comment to be read out. So please @gotkushTV so I can differentiate it from the rest of the comment, them, you know, where, you know, it's just general conversation, important though it may be between members of the chat. Okay, brothers and sisters. It has been a very interesting week. Enough things are going. You know what I'm saying? 1 second, brothers and sisters. Right, enough things are going in the world, yeah, and I'm endeavoring best. In fact, next week we will be dealing with Haiti. Yeah, next week we'll be dealing with Haiti. For those who may not be aware, basically, the government in Haiti has collapsed, and the president, Ariel Henry, has resigned, although his resignation is really ridiculous given the fact that he was basically put in power by America following the assassination of Moise, the previous president, but that's another story for another time. But to cut a long story short, there's negotiations taking place among CARICOM nations at the moment in Jamaica about restoring some kind of stability to Haiti. And for some odd reason, and I'm saying that like it wasn't inevitable, CARICOM decided to invite America, France, and Canada to this negotiation process, because we can't do nothing without big whitey come give instruction and all of these things. So I say all that to say that one way or another we will be dealing with Haiti next week, whether I've got a guest or whether we're just going to be going off of news clips and information. We're going to be dealing with Haiti next week and what is taking place in Haiti. All right. And simple as you take it, whilst a lot of what is taking place is being considered to be, a manifestation of the collapse of the country, the collapse of the nation, Haiti has been dysfunctional for a very long time, and its dysfunction is due to the extent of Western imperialism operating in that nation. And so in reality, the collapse that we see now is not any greater a collapse than has existed for many decades in Haiti, particularly since 2004. And much of what we see happening is actually a rebellion against the neo-colonial status that Haiti has been forced to assume for decades on end. And it might sound strange to say this, and I'm not saying that this is certain, but it is not impossible that Haiti is more stable now today than it was yesterday. I know they're talking about a lot about gangs and so on and so forth. A lot of these people that they're calling gangs and are actually military, or paramilitary forces that are rebelling against the government in Haiti, recognizing the fact that Haiti is and has remained a neo-colonial outpost of Western imperialism for a number of decades. And the elite in Haiti has kept the masses of the people downtrodden so that they can continue to feast off crumbs from Bakramasa table, so to speak. And whilst there are many in the global African community who are in fact allegiant with America and Britain and France and Canada and so on and so forth, it is for us as a Pan-African media platform to bring the Pan-African analysis. And so we've touched on it at times throughout our ZIVANAYI sessions. What we and I've been saying that we're going to dedicate a session to, and more than a session actually, because there's a lot of history there as well. And so we're going to be definitely dealing with it next week. And I know ones and ones, particularly Melaman, who listens regularly, has been raising this consistently. And so I've been saying that we're going to be dealing with it. So definitely next week we're going to be dealing with it. So do stay tuned for that, brothers and sisters. Do stay tuned for that. But today, we're going to get into a bit of a continuation from the subject that I dealt with last week, which is the Black conservative industrial complex. And for those who were listening last week, forgive me, because I'm going to go over some things. I'm going to go over some things that I went through last week. All right, just so what I'm going to do at the end makes complete sense, for those who are watching, all right? Especially for those who weren't here last week, especially for those who were not here last week, we are going to let's go over some of the dynamics that we got through last week, in terms of the Black conservative industrial complex. So as we get into this, once again, like up the video, share the link far and wide, and that includes, the MI5 and the MI6 and the CIA where I watch. You can share the link too. It's all good. It's all beautiful. It's all blessed. And we look forward to you joining us either in the chat or on the panel. Little more. So me quick go into this boogies, Once again, brothers and sisters, who joined me last week, forgive me, because I'm going to repeat some things that I went through last week, but it will all make sense as to why. Little more. Oh, before I do that, though, let me actually hail up the chat. I have to hail up the chat. Bigging up Set Imhotep in the building, Trinidad in the place. Yes, indeed. New York via Panama, Melanated Goddess is in the building. Are you main? Everything is everything, bringing the quick one, Nancy. Energy, you done know. Reparation Nations is about the place. Long time since you've been watching, my brother. So good to see you around. MA is in the building. You done know. James O is in the building. Kushti is in the building. Oh, you mean? And yeah, hey, you know what? I forgot to mention, the Badass review soon come, brothers and sisters. My lord, the Badass UK review soon comes. So don't worry about nothing. I am a man of my word, and I will keep my promises. The people then vote, albeit 49%. Yes, the people then vote for review Badass UK. So we're gonna review Badass UK. All right. Coffee Campbell is in the building, and also Meloman is in the building. Oh, you mean Meloman? And I was just saying that we will be addressing Haiti next week. Yeah, I'm gonna call your name because you always talk about Haiti. So we're gonna talk about Haiti next week. If it comes up in the conversation later, I will go through some of the information in terms of the news as to what has happened in the last 48 hours. But the in-depth conversation we'll save it for next week, because I'm gonna look for a guest, and if not a guest, then we'll be going through certain news stories to raise our knowledge and information, as it stands at the moment. But as I was saying before, CARICOM has instituted some kind of a mediation process that is taking place currently in Jamaica. I have no faith in the Jamaican government to be able to mediate this thing properly, or CARICOM for that matter, because the entirety of the Caribbean is full of neocolonial outposts. And even what you might call the best among them, as far as Mia Motley in Barbados is concerned, is instituting policies whereby the mediation process has to be sanctioned through and by the UN. When we say the UN, we are really dealing with the auspices of the United States and Western powers. And so that is an inadequate situation as far as I'm concerned. The people of Haiti are actually looking for they themselves to be able to address these issues as it stands. And so that's my little initial comment on that. I probably said more than I should have, but we're gonna go into the conversation for today. Stick around, brothers and sisters. You don't want to miss the conclusion to this reasoning. Believe me. All right, we're gonna go into some boogies today. All right, okay. So, brothers and sisters, make we talk. Confessions of an intellectual mercenary. Mr. Confessions of an intellectual mercenary. And before we just detail the confession of the intellectual mercenary, we have to just go through again and recap, this thing called the Black Industrial Complex, the Black Conservative Industrial Complex. Yes, indeed. What is it? So, the Black Conservative Industrial Complex. Make we define some terms. Make we understand what we mean when we say Black Conservative Industrial Complex. I shouldn't need to define the word black, so I'm not going to. But I will define the word conservative. And the word conservative, as far as the online dictionary teaches, means averse to change or innovation and holding traditional values. Averse to change or innovation and holding traditional values. And when them say traditional, bear in mind that not all traditions are the same. So what kind of a conservative you are really depends upon which tradition and who for tradition you are adverse to changing or evolving innovations within, brothers and sisters. And so within the context of Western society, yes, the term conservative relates to an aversion to changing or innovating within the concept of Western societies and holding on to the traditional values of Western society. And by Western society, we mean European, white, Bakra, Muzungu, Oyibo, or Bruni, etc., etc., etc. And the second definition here is a more political one. It says, in a political context, favoring free enterprise, private ownership, and socially traditional ideas. Once again, in a political context, favoring free enterprise, private ownership, and socially traditional ideas. And this, brothers and sisters, these two terms, free enterprise, private ownership, relate to the system, the economic system of capitalism, as it has been espoused in the West, and not necessarily just capitalism in general, although it does relate to capitalism in general, but in more specific terms, particular kinds of expressions of capitalism. Yes, which we won't go into detail about today, but the emphasis, as you see here, is on private ownership and the freeness of those who have that private ownership to be able to enterprise their private ownership around the nation and the world, brothers and sisters. That is a short definition there, but it also is about socially traditional ideas. Yes, and to get into the heart of what they mean when they say socially traditional ideas, it might be advisable to get a definition of the key terminology, the root word for the word conservative, which is conserve. So what does conserve mean? Conserve means to protect something, especially something of environmental or cultural importance from harm or destruction. To protect something, especially something of environmental or cultural importance from harm or destruction. So in the context of what we are talking about right here now, which is the hegemony of white power, of European power, of Western power in the nation of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and the world, we are talking about the inclination towards the protection and the preservation of systems of white culture and associated white power, to protect said systems and cultural inclination from harm or destruction. That is what conservative means in this context, brothers and sisters. I hope you understand. All right. Then we go on to the next terminology, which is industrial complex. And an industrial complex, this definition is taken from Wikipedia. The industrial complex is a socio-economic concept wherein businesses become entwined in social or political systems or institutions, creating or bolstering a profit economy for these systems. Once again, creating or bolstering a profit economy from these systems. That means that people have the wherewithal to financially or materially benefit from their involvement in this particular complex of industry. Okay? All right. Such a complex is said to pursue its own interests regardless of and often at the expense of the best interests of society and individuals. It's Wikipedia. So I'm going to say society, individuals, and groups within society, brothers and sisters, because oftentimes it might not detrimentally impact the society as a whole, but it might detrimentally impact certain groups within a society. All right. Businesses within an industrial complex may have been created to advance a social or political goal, but mostly profit when the goal is not reached. The industrial complex may profit financially or ideologically from maintaining socially detrimental or inefficient systems. And so in this regard, brothers and sisters, when we talk about the Black conservative industrial complex, we are really talking about the extent to which the business sector, the corporate sector within white Western society involves itself in political, economic, and social discourse of the black community so as to influence it in particular kinds of ways that suit its interest, from which those who choose to involve themselves can be rewarded via financial, material, or status within the society that provides them a means for operating in particular ways. And in reality, the institutions that are at the helm of this agenda, as in the white institutions, may not necessarily benefit financially or materially. Their benefit, however, is to be found in the extent to which those among us who engage with them on their terms benefit them ideologically and do their bidding ideologically in terms of the protection and the preservation of white culture and white values and white systems of power. Yes, indeed, brothers and sisters, that is the breakdown of the meaning of the terminology black conservative industrial complex. And so we're going to classify the black conservative industrial complex today, brothers and sisters, and give you some of the stratifications, the class stratifications that exist within the industrial complex. And based upon the fact that brothers and sisters, using that term loosely, who choose to engage and become a part of this particular industrial complex, have an affinity towards the protection and preservation of white Western European culture. We're going to use terminologies that are very popular within white Western culture to stratify them, to describe them, and understanding that because of such affinity, they may feel privileged to be classed in such ways, brothers and sisters. And so as we go through, we're going to get into these dynamics. So first and foremost, brothers and sisters, we have the minions. Yes, the minions. All right, we have the minions. Okay, and via dictionary definition, a minion is a follower or an underling of a powerful person, especially a servile or unimportant one. A follower of or underling of a powerful person, especially a servile or unimportant one. The minions of the black conservative industrial complex are generally speaking nameless and faceless. I say generally speaking because some of them will show you their name and show you their face, but they don't necessarily have a profile. They don't have a status. They're just people that generally operate within the context of social media. Yes, them don't have them on a platform where you can come to see them. You will find them mostly purviewing and preying and becoming a part of the social milieu of other people's platform. And their role is to troll. Me said them role is to troll. They are designed specifically for the purpose of flooding the platforms of brothers and sisters, particularly in the black community, the African community in the UK, worldwide, and parroting the talking points that are given to them by their lords and their masters. Yes, so you will find them all over, especially within the context of this particular conversation, Pan-African media platform, Pan-African leaders, Pan-African scholars and African-centered scholars and so on and so forth, and throwing talking points at them that were given to them by their masters. You will find these individuals parroting talking points like Pan-Africanism has failed and such and the like. Yes, what has Pan-Africanism done and so on and so forth. Yes, you will find them defending the nation states of which they are a part or domicile, whether it be the UK or the USA in particular. Yes, you will find them defending that nation state and its domestic policies, and its foreign policies. But the key characteristic of these people is that they don't have necessarily their own platform. Their entire job and role is to troll. These are the brothers and sisters who will define themselves as Black British or British Caribbean. And in doing so, some among this group, it's not necessarily the entire group now, they will create an antagonism between what it means to be a Caribbean and what it means to be an African. And then on the opposite side of this spectrum, I might add, there are those who create that the same dichotomy, but in defense of what it means to be an African. These are the Africans from the continent who want to create a dichotomy between what it means to be an African and what it means to be a Caribbean. And their argument is that the Caribbean community has hijacked the Black identity and the Black agenda in this country. And so they want to be separated from those Caribbean people. And then on the other side of that spectrum, now you have the Africans from the Caribbean who do not want to be identified as African and consider it to be a shame to be identified as African and prefer to be identified as Caribbean. But Caribbean identity for them is in opposition to African identity and is antagonistic towards African identity. And for them, Pan-Africanism has stagnated British Caribbean development and Caribbean development in general. They find African from the Caribbean affinity with our African identity to be a hindrance to our development. You will find shades of this among other groups of African people, namely the American descendants of slavery or the foundational Black Americans in the United States of America. But I'm making my analysis more centered around those Africans who live in the UK. So we're going to stay off of those brothers and sisters for a moment and keep it on what I'm talking about. Ronia. All right. But again, brothers and sisters, their major role is to troll. And in trolling, they have been sent out by their masters just to provide a force for the ideas of their masters on social media, to give the veneer of popularity of these ideas among Black people on social media. But in respect of that particular last point, we must remember that among this group of people, not everybody who is a part of this group on social media is necessarily a natural person. Some of these are digital constructions of the FBI, the CIA, the MI5, and the MI6. They are bots, brothers and sisters, who are simply designed for the purpose of pushing certain talking points against heavy sections of the social media stratosphere that are populated by Black people, by African people. And so they will do that on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram and so on and so forth. And then you get those who are a bit more brave. They will come and show their face and give their name or at least an alias on a platform like YouTube, where, you know, gotkushTV is having a conversation. Then will come through and frequent and bring in the Black conservative industrial complex talking points in defense of and aimed at the preservation of white culture and systems of white power in today's world. That is the minion class among the Black conservative industrial complex. Beware of the minions, because they are very, very dangerous. Identify them wherever you see them and call them out for who they are. Then we move on to the second class strata, of the Black conservative industrial complex. And these are the peons and the serfs. Yes, indeed, brothers and sisters, the peons and the serfs. The peons and the serfs. A member, as defined, brothers and sisters, a peon and serf is basically the same thing. A member of a low social class in medieval times who worked the land and had to obey the person who owned that land. A member of a low social class in medieval times who worked the land and had to obey the person who owned that land. In this particular context, we are not discussing land in the material sense. We are discussing the landscape of ideas, the landscape of ideology and ideation, brothers and sisters. And the peons and the serfs are distinct from the minions in that whilst the minions tend to not have profile status and sometimes even a name and a face to put to the name, the peons and the serfs have decided to put themselves forward and bring their name or the name that they would like to be known by and put a face to that name and act on behalf of and in the preservation of and the protection of white culture and white power by creating a platform specifically for the purpose. They've created their own platform in one way, shape, or form specifically for that purpose. This is the aspirational class among the black conservative industrial complex. They are auditioning for positions within the societal infrastructure to be able to reap the benefits and the rewards from being clients of white institutions. Effectively, they're auditioning for news stations like GB News or Talk TV or Fox News. You might find them on Good Morning Britain or the Jeremy Vine Show. These are all shows that, you know, feature in the UK, brothers and sisters. Yeah, they'll create their Instagram account and their Facebook account or maybe their YouTube account, and effectively they're auditioning to be recognized by these institutions. And all of the institutions that I named are institutions that really sit on the right of British politics. They want to feature in the Daily Mail and the Times and the Independent. Yes, indeed, brothers and sisters. And the talking points that they tend to front are the quote unquote anti-woke. They're warriors against woke, what the white power structure has referred to as wokeism within the black community. They're campaigners and tiraders against what they call victim mentality. And for them, victim mentality seems to be any African who speaks out about the conditions and the realities facing African people anywhere in the world. Yes, this is what you call victim. They've caricatured and characterized such discussions as the promotion of victim mentality among African people, among black people. They never, though, seem to find this caricature, this characterization when it comes to white power. So if white power says that we are being aggressed by immigrants, they don't have anything to say. That's not victim mentality. When white power says that we are being negatively affected by Islamist terrorism, they don't have victim mentality when it comes to that kind of dynamics. When communism is the enemy and communism is the scourge and communism is destroying British society, they don't have the idea of victim mentality when it comes to all of these things. All right. Victim mentality seems to be the exclusive province of Africans trying to advocate on black issues. This is the talking points of the peons and the serfs of the black conservative industrial complex. They can be found campaigning against reparations and giving long arguments as to why it's impossible, it's unrealistic. You know, and there's another argument to this, you know, that takes place on the higher level of this class stratification. But we'll get to that in a second. Yes, they're campaigners also for free speech. You'll find them campaigning on the issue of free speech. But all of their advocacy on the issue of free speech tends to be to protect white people who may or may not get themselves in trouble with other white people. In other words, right-wing white people that get themselves in trouble with sometimes black people and also liberal white people. They're very, very vociferous about the protection of the free speech rights of Tommy Robinson, for example, in the UK. Yes, and you find them campaigning for Tommy Robinson's right to free speech and so on and so forth. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That these are the talking points and the activism points of the peons and the serfs of the black conservative industrial complex. In that context, also, they tend to make of themselves apologists for white propagandized caricatures of black people. They want white people to know that they are not like the rest of the Negroes in terms of what the society might consider to be black culture. They like to discuss twerking a lot, black women twerking a lot. They like to discuss sexy red and Sukihana a lot. And for them, these represent definitive expressions of black culture that are degrading society. And so they, as apologists for white power, need to prove and seem to find themselves always in positions of being on podcasts and talk shows with white people, telling them that they are not in line with these popular depictions of black culture that we find in mainstream and social media. This is the class that goes onto these platforms to discuss black music and gangs and gangsterism and hypersexualization, as though this is all that black culture has to offer. And apologizing to them for these displays of black culture, and giving these Europeans who they are talking to plausible cover for their white racist critiques of us as African people. These are the people them that like to go up on European platforms, podcasts and otherwise, and discuss the problem with black people. Some of them are black men who like to sit down with white men and white women and degrade black women and talk about how black women are out of control. These are the people, when we begin to discuss the negative ways in which the education system may be affecting our young people, would seek to divert the conversation from that to a discussion about black fathers and the extent to which we are not in the home. When we begin to discuss police brutality, they want to discuss black on black violence. And while they discuss black on black violence, they're involved, generally speaking, in none of the programs and the initiatives that are operating within the black community that are in fact addressing those issues. They would go on white platforms and pretend as though the black community, there are no institutions and groups within the black community trying to tackle said issues. And so they were saying things like, when somebody is killed by the police, there's a big protest throughout London. But there's no protest when a black youth is killed by another black youth. Completely ignoring all of the programs, the gang intervention services and otherwise that exist within the black community, trying to address those issues. So while they can defend Tommy Robinson's right to free speech, they don't seem to be able to defend African people's right to not be brutalized by the police. Interesting. Then now there's a new shade of this developing at the moment, yeah, which is the black conservative with an edge. Yeah, the black conservative industrial complex member with an edge. And these are people who all of the characteristics that I've just mentioned are generally the same. And bear in mind that, they don't always agree, these peons and serfs of the black conservative industrial complex. Every now and then you find a fallout between them. It does happen. It does happen every now and then. All right. But the ones with an edge now are those that, they will defend British society and, so on and so forth. But these ones are not necessarily afraid to talk about colonialism. Yes, they will discuss slavery and colonialism, and when they go before the white podcast master and so on, they will discuss slavery and colonialism and maybe even neocolonialism. Yes, you know what I'm saying? But their analysis within the context of that discussion is generally speaking to save face, because most of them reach that point, when they have faced some kind of calamity within the black conservative industrial complex. When the white person that they have made themselves servile to for however long they've been involved messes up big. And they have to now account to the black community for the fact that they sat down and sanctioned this particular white individual for a very, very long time. And so they got to change the talking point slightly. Yes? Whilst meeting the same aim. But the fact of the matter is that all of this is for their own personal benefit. You won't find their analysis of neocolonialism translated into a support for organizations and groups who are in fact challenging neocolonialism. Yes? So the talk about colonialism and maybe even racism, yes, it's really a face-saving exercise that has no real substance. That's the black conservative industrial complex with an edge, brothers and sisters. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Yeah. These are the ones who, when they've created their own platforms, they get shared by right-wing youth organizations and think tanks. And generally speaking, you have comments under the video, patting them on the head. Oh, it's so well spoken. Oh, what a gentlemanly young man. Oh, what a ladylike woman. They seem to like to get patted on the head, yes, by random white people on the internet, and seem to feel well rewarded when they get these pats on the head. They often adopt narratives of white nationalism. In that, what I mean by that is that they tend to adopt the nationalism of the nation in which they live. So if they live in Britain, they become British nationalists. If they live in America, they become American nationalists. But understanding that Britain and America as nation states are expressions of white nationalism, the black conservative industrial complex takes on the ideology and the talking points associated with the preservation of white nationalism. So whatever is good for Britain becomes good for them. And they speak in terms of the country being their own and the protection of the status and the society of the country. And so they'll make statements like, the country is declining, going down. And their examples of this are really the talking points of the white right in relation to the white left. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So they're not going to join the white right in protection of the white right against the white left in white society. That's their adoption of white nationalist talking points. They're generally speaking very, very minimal on foreign policy, white national foreign policy. But if they are, they reason from that. These are the people that Omowale Malcolm X called we sick. Yeah, if the master says we got a good house here, the slaves say, yes, boss, we got a nice house here. You know what I'm saying? That kind of vibration. Oftentimes, these peons and serfs are not experts in anything. Yeah, they're not experts in anything. They are just well-rehearsed talking heads. They have rehearsed the talking points of their masters very, very well. And that's why you'll find them on news programs and discussion talk shows, but often juxtaposed against some African who is actually a scholar, yeah, in when I'm talk about, yeah, they've got a degree in foreign policy and politics or they've got their job, they work in social services or whatever, and you just get a random black conservative industrial complex talking head, yes, against somebody who's actually a scholar, agree or disagree with their actual little points, right? You know, but this person doesn't have expertise, while this person has at least some level of expertise in what they're talking about. But because the person who is the black conservative industrial complex, peon and serf, doesn't need expertise, they just need to be able to regurgitate well the talking points that are given to them by their masters. And so that's the peons and serfs of the black conservative industrial complex, brothers and sisters. We're going to go to the next strata of this class system right here now, and that is the gentry and the knights. Yes, indeed, brothers and sisters, the gentry and the knights. The gentry, people of good social position, specifically the class of people next below the nobility in position and birth. And the knights, a man who served his sovereign or lord as a mounted soldier in armor. A man who served his sovereign or lord as a mounted soldier in armor. Yes, indeed, brothers and sisters, the gentry and the knights. These are the brothers and sisters, using that terminology very, very loosely, who have been so successful in their induction into this complex that they not only they don't have to have their own platform, brothers and sisters. They don't have to audition for jobs on GB News and Talk TV and Fox News. These are the brothers and sisters, using that terminology loosely, who have been provided permanent jobs by the conservative power structure. Yes, indeed, brothers and sisters. These are the ones who are made members of parliament and lords in the upper chamber. These are the ones who are made peers of think tanks. Yes, indeed, brothers and sisters. These are the ones who are made bishops of the Anglican Church. These are the ones who are employed by the government to write paper and policies in relation to the black community and issues of race relations in our Britain. These are the ones who are given positions in your cabinet and your shadow cabinet of the government. Yes, indeed, brothers and sisters. This is the professional class of the black conservative industrial complex. But notice that they are but a servant class, serving the sovereign lord as the first line of defense, a soldier in armor, the first line of defense or protection of white power in relation to the masses of African people. This is the professional class. This is the intellectual class. These are the ones that are given the rights to write books and so on and so forth. Policy, paper, as I've already mentioned. They may even be given significant fundings for certain programs, and sometimes their programs will be aimed at the black community, with the proviso that their program is designed to prove that the system is not an impediment to black people. Essentially, what they are designed to do is ensure that a privileged class of black people that come through their program see themselves as a part of the system enough to the extent that they are less inclined to rebel against it. Capture them when they're young. But even when they get the program money targeted at the black community, when the system decides that that program is no longer necessary, the member of the gentry and knight class of the black conservative industrial complex will willingly change the aim and the target market of their program, depending on the dictates of white society at a time. For example, if white society said, well, actually, we need you to run this program for black boys, yes, when you run the program for black boys, though, please teach them that racism is a non-issue, that Britain is great, rule Britannia, Britannia rules the waves. And that when you've completed that program, they will have positions in Oxford University and MIT. But hold on, 5 years later, hold on, dear sir. The problem in British society now is no longer black boys. The problem is working class white boys. So we need you to change the target of your program to working class white boys. And the member of the Black Conservative Industrial Complex will do that based upon the dictates of his master. Just like that. Within that context, also, these are those who would provide the intellectual arguments for the subdivision of the black community in the UK. In other words, this stratification or subdivision within official documentation and statistics and information gathering that makes the Black African community separate and distinct from the Black Caribbean community is one that has been profiled and given legitimacy by the Black Conservative Industrial Complex. And the aim of this act of sleight of hand is to ensure that there is not enough cohesion among the Black community to represent an organized and organizational threat. That the interests of the Black community are divided along Black Caribbean and Black African, so that there is not enough of a impression of a unified interest and therefore a unified agenda among Black people, because the interests of Black people in the UK must be in line with the interests of white people in the UK, and in this instance particularly the right wing of white power. These are the ones in that context who also ask questions like, what does it really mean to be black? What is being black really? And this line of questioning is designed to degrade the in-group standards. Every group, and there's a terminology for this in sociology, but I can't remember what it is right now. But every group has a certain amount of in-group standardization, standards that you are required to meet in order to maintain your membership of the group. Well, these gentry and knights of the Black Conservative Industrial Complex are the ones who intellectualize blackness and Africanness, or attempt so to do, out of existence, so that it can be conveniently and seamlessly washed and absorbed into the broader, greater British milieu and amenable to the various different shades of political adherence within British society. Walter Rodney in the book Groundings with My Brothers speaks about how the issue of color and blackness is a major issue, yes, for the neo-colonial elite in Jamaica. He said that they would not prefer you talk about communism, yeah, than discuss race, yes, and blackness. Why? Because the aim ultimately of this entire vibration is divide and conquer. To divide the political inclinations of the African community to the extent that it doesn't form into a significant organized body against the machinations of white power. These are the ones who align with talking heads on the white right to make critical race theory and Black Lives Matter the only significant political movements among African people. that anything that black people are doing can be considered critical race theory and Black Lives Matter. And they will go to the extent of misrepresenting those two phenomena for the purpose of creating enough of a caricature that they can weaponize against any form of black protest. They don't even have to be honest. And they can, in fact, openly declare that they are not being honest with their characterizations, and the gentry and the knights, the peons and the serfs, the minions of the black conservative industrial complex, will defend them. So I hope, brothers and sisters, I've given you an understandable class strata for the black conservative industrial complex. Let's crown our reasoning with some words of the man called Nana Amos Wilson. The black neoconservatives establishment is used by the white conservative establishment as cannon fodder in defense of white racism and domination against both black and white liberals and black nationalists. Black nationalists, universal African nationalists, Pan-Africanists. Black neoconservatism has defined itself in opposition to constant call of assimilationists for government intervention and legis in the uplift of the socially depressed and politically oppressed masses. It also opposes the belief that government and industry should make special efforts on behalf of blacks in reparation for harm done in the past resulting from white racism. Neoconservatives have been ably assisted in this regard by white neoconservatives. Conservatives and cryptographists, due to their ideological compatibility with the values and goals of the white supremacist establishment. This has led to their receiving favorable exposure in the mainstream, print and electronic media, to their being appointed to influential offices and professional positions, such as heads of the EEOC and Civil Rights Commission, and to the US Supreme Court under conservative administrations, and to department chairs at prestigious universities. These well-paid propagandists, themselves the prime beneficiaries of precisely those maximum social, educational, and professional advances resulting from civil rights legislation, quoting Harold Cruz, paradoxically oppose the very collectivist civil rights activities which have made their occupational positions possible. It is ironic that these advocates of self-help, quote unquote self-help, among black Americans are themselves a group of client scholars, i.e. mercenary intellectuals. Mercenary intellectuals attached to the umbilical cord and cords of the financial and institutional bastions of conservative white American power establishment, like the Heritage, Schaeff, Bradley, and Olin foundations. One of the major functions of these institutions is to fund the work of both black and white critics of black struggles, all black struggles, whether they be moderate or radical, whether they be integrationist or revolutionary, for civil rights, racial equality, and affirmative action, and of the Afrocentric movement. Consequently, black neocons essentially serve to rewrite traditional white conservative and racist ideological canards, trying to win for them legitimacy in the African American or the African UK community, by making it appear that these warmed over self-serving white supremacist contentions originate from their own independent minds. The central function and role of the black neoconservative is to put a black face on white power, to put a black face on white power, to put a black face on white power. Well, let us look at an example of putting a black face on white power. Confessions, brothers and sisters, of an intellectual mercenary. Let us give an example of putting a black face on white power. Confessions of an intellectual mercenary. Confessions of an intellectual mercenary. Voice article. The Voice is the biggest black newspaper in the UK, brothers and sisters. Been around since the 1980s. And in an article printed on the 5th of September 2023, it carries the headline, Black-facing Daily Mail must be held to account. Black-facing Daily Mail must be held to account. For those who are not aware, the Daily Mail is the number one, well, arguably the number one newspaper in the country. Yeah, broadsheet newspaper, that is. You know what I'm saying? But it is also well known for being a propaganda machine of the conservative right in Britain. Blackface in Daily Mail must be held to account. A whistleblower revealed the paper has been ghostwriting racist articles using the identities of black commentators. The black conservative industrial complex. Their job is to put a black face on white power. A whistleblower revealed that the paper has been ghostwriting racist articles using the identities of black commentators. There must be serious consequences, writes Lester Holloway. Let's check this out. The revelation that the Daily Mail are attaching black names and faces to racist articles ghostwritten by other journalists who are based on the makeup of most UK newsrooms are overwhelmingly likely to be white is, or should be, a major scandal in the media industry. Now, bear in mind, when the story dropped in September 2023, hardly anybody was covering it. Yeah, hardly anybody was covering it. Commentator Dominique Samuels. Once again, commentator Dominique Samuels admitted on social media that an article with her byline headed "This clash of the royals" was about culture, not color. This clash of the royals was about culture, not color. This, as you might be able to guess, was concerning the uproar in relation to the alleged racism of the British monarchy, the royal family, as it relates to Meghan Markle. Yes, wife of Prince Harry. All right. And she, Dominique Samuels, spilled the beans, said this article was not written by her. She also wrote, I was asked to be the face of a ghost-written negative verging on racist piece by the Daily Mail paper last year, 2022, on the Notting Hill Carnival, and eventually turned it down because it was a complete misrepresentation of what I witnessed whilst I was there. Dominique Samuels here. I'll explain it in a second, all right? It goes without saying that the Daily Mail are engaging in a scandalous and deeply unethical behavior which deceives their readers. But the implications of the scandal run far deeper and demand serious repercussions. The newspaper is black-facing, using the identities of at least one, maybe more, black people as a mask for the prejudiced opinions of staff to publish things they clearly believe they would not get away with as a white person. It is also effectively identity theft, even if black commentators are consenting to it. From a journalism point of view, it is worse than making up quotes, usually a sackable offense. Just ask former hack Boris Johnson, or who was fired, from I believe it was actually the Daily Mail for such an offense, or publishing stories known to be untrue. Several editors lost their jobs over the Hitler Diary story in 1983. All right, brothers and sisters. So I'm not going to go into the rest of the article, but this is the tweet, from Dominique Samuels. All right, Dominique Samuels was, up until I'd say probably last year, a prominent member of the Black conservative industrial complex. Yeah, and I'm just going to find an aspect of this article because I believe it does exist. Oh no, it doesn't. All right. We'll come back to that in a second. But anyway, what happened was, she, as a prominent member of the Black conservative industrial complex, was asked to put her name to articles written by execs at the Daily Mail. And there were occasions upon which she consented to it, but she drew the line when them decides to then want to put fear name upon one article that was slandering the Notting Hill Carnival. Yeah, the Notting Hill Carnival is basically a quote unquote Caribbean carnival that takes place in London every year, and is considered to be the biggest street festival in the whole of Europe. All right. Every year after Notting Hill Carnival, the Daily Mail and other right-wing broadsheets and tabloids in the UK print articles that are negatively characterizing the carnival in relation to incidents of arrest in particular and or incidents of violence. Yeah, and quite frankly, it is proven that as far as those incidents, that far less proportionally or even sometimes in actual numbers takes place at Notting Hill Carnival than takes place at other festivals that take place in the UK, for example, Glastonbury. Yeah, it's just one. All right. But every year there's this media onslaught against the Notting Hill Carnival. And so in 2023, August of 2023, Dominique Samuels was asked to put her name to an article written by a Daily Mail exec slandering the Notting Hill Carnival, and she said no this time. Not only did she say no, she tweeted about it. And she said, the outrage fest about Notting Hill Carnival is tiresome and, to be honest, manufactured. I was asked to be the face of a ghost-written negative verging on racist piece by the Daily Mail paper last year and eventually turned it down because it was a complete misrepresentation of what I witnessed. So in 2022, she was asked to do this. Yes. Kind of didn't say anything about it until a year later. The violence, etc., that happens is, of course, not acceptable, but it's estimated that 2 million people attended the festival last year. Yeah, and that's what she said on her social media. Yeah, her Twitter page. Yeah, the tweet has since been deleted. Then at some point, and somebody else, as you can see down here, asked her, was this ghost written for you? And that's the article, Dominique Samuels, This Clash of the Royals was about culture, not color. By the way, that article still has her name attached to it to this day. And then she admitted, yes, it was. Yeah, she also goes on to make some statements about how there's racism that exists in these circles, and she's basically not going to be a part of it anymore. Dominique Samuels has gone on, yes, to be a reformed spiritualist, yeah, Buddhist, and dealing with meditation and spiritual enlightenment, and no longer wants to be considered a part of the Black conservative industrial complex. So we're seeing now an example, yes, literal example, yeah, of an articles that were written and put in the name of African people when they were in fact not written by African people. But the good thing about the Black conservative industrial complex is that there's always somebody willing to do the work of Massa, of Bakra Massa. And this, yes, is an article, as you can see, thugs rampaging with zombie knives, 8 stabbings, 75 police officers hurt, open drug use, and revelers urinating in gardens. To call this a celebration of Black culture is an insult, and it's written by, or said to be written by, Nana Akua, who is a very prominent member of the Black conservative industrial complex, a regular contributor to GB News. Yeah, and so this article was published in the Daily Mail, on the 31st of August 2023. Soon after this is when Samuel spilled the beans. Confessions of a mercenary intellectual. Confessions of a mercenary intellectual. So finally, brothers and sisters, I'm gonna, by the way, you can click the link. I'm gonna be finishing in like 5 minutes. Yeah, click the link if you want to come through. Yeah, let's just deal with some of how Dominique Samuels came to came to popularity in the UK. She came to popularity as a member of this group called Turning Point UK. What is Turning Point UK? Turning Point UK is a British offshoot of the American student pressure group Turning Point USA. Répétez. Turning Point UK is a British offshoot of the American student pressure group Turning Point USA. The UK group was set up to promote right-wing politics in UK schools, colleges, and universities, with the stated aim of countering what Turning Point UK alleges are the left-wing politics of UK educational institutions. The close similarity of Turning Point UK's rhetoric and target demographic to that of Generation Identity, a continental European group whose intentions are racist and Islamophobic, has been noted by scholars of hate studies and the far right. Turning Point describes its objectives as promoting the values of free markets, limited government, and personal responsibility. It says it does this to counter what it alleges is a dogmatic left-wing political climate, educational system, and radical Labour Party, which Turning Point UK claims sympathizes with terrorists and wishes to disarm the nation. The group was launched in December 2018 by Charlie Kirk. Hold on, we're going to know who Charlie Kirk is shortly. Founder of Turning Point USA, and Candace Owens, then communications director of the US group. So Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens come out the UK. They found Turning Point UK at the Royal Automobile Club, the Royal Automobile Club in London, on the day of its social media launch in February 2019. Tory MPs, including Jacob Rees-Mogg and Priti Patel, tweeted supportive messages for the group. Yeah? All right, all on there. So Dominique Samuels, one of the group's influencers, told the BBC during a radio interview that the UK branch would not set up the same controversial professor watch list, for which its US counterpart is known. The US Turning Point set up this professor's watch list where they were watching and the lectures basically of university professors or something like that, and calling them out for being lefty, wokey, socialist, communist, whatever. Okay, so I'm just reading that for you, so you know that I'm not fabricating. Dominique Samuels was one of the quote-unquote young influencers of this group, and if you go on their social media and you search back, you will see her prominently featured in their videos and so on and so forth. Okay, so we're talking about the peon and serf class, really and truly here. Yes, of the black conservative industrial complex. But Charlie Kirk is an American right-wing political activist, radio talk show host, and internet personality who often espouses views rooted in conservatism, etc., etc. He also started a think tank, yes, at a university at one point. And so these are big white money American people who are starting these groups and trying to find black lackeys for their talking points at the same time. Brothers and sisters, I'm going to end it there. Confessions of an intellectual mercenary. And so we see the minions, the peons and the serfs, the gentry and the knights of the black conservative industrial complex are not only doing their master's work, but when we say they're there to put a black face on white power, they're literally doing so. Imagine if Dominique Samuels, by the way, brothers and sisters, when after Dominique Samuels spilled the beans, the others like Nana Akua, who I just mentioned, who wrote that article, she was asked on Twitter whether she has also consented to her name being put on articles that she did not write. Apparently, she blocked the person where asked her the question. And another member, Esther, I've forgotten her surname, but it begins with K. She was asked, but she never responded. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? All right, you know what I'm saying? She never responded to the thing. All right, okay. The Black Conservative Industrial Complex, Confessions of an Intellectual Mercenary. So when you see them, brothers and sisters, don't assume. When you see their books and their articles and their policy papers, do not assume that they wrote them themselves. Don't assume. They're literally the mouthpiece for white men and women in the preservation and protection of white culture and white power. Western imperialism, neocolonialism, and Western white supremacy in today's world. That's what they are. Make no bones about it. So I never got to get through that aspect of the thing last week, so I thought I would just come again and bring you the aspect of the thing, brothers and sisters. The link is in the chat. The link is in the chat for anybody who wants to come through. Please at gotkushTV. If you would like your comment to be read out, please at gotkushTV. If you would like your comment to be read out, and or deal with the super chat thing, we don't mind. Either way, we will read your comment. The link is pinned to the top of the chat. So if you would like to come live and reason with I, grounds with the I, feel free to do so. And one individual has already done so. Greetings and welcome to Set Imhotep over there in the beautiful nation of Trinidad.
Please, can I be clearly heard?
Yes, King, you can be clearly heard.
Peace and Pan-African power to everybody under the sound of my voice. I'd pull you up when I begin by saying I live in the nation of Trinidad and Tobago. I have half my family on both sides from Tobago, and you will get my club. Dig? So
I apologize, King. You're absolutely correct. Trinidad and Tobago, if you say. Go on,
yes,
King.
sir, yes, sir, yes, sir. In the first, well, I mean, you were so eloquent and explanatory in this show. There isn't really that much that somebody like me could add to the contribution you just gave us. I wanted to just throw out maybe one name in particular that maybe people don't really think about when they think of these black faces on white power, which is Barack Obama. I think he's 44, 100%. The 44th president of the United States.
100%.
In as much as he is a very intelligent brother, you know, it really is kind of heartbreaking to watch some of our best, some of our most intelligent, but I guess least moral, be used by the enemy, right? On public stages. They are open enemies to Africans, and they are enriched by their efforts. Sometimes it is so heartbreaking watching these people, not because you want to suffer, you know, not because you want to become an enemy to Africans so that you benefit like they are benefiting, but like the level of internalized hatred, the level of trauma that they might be experiencing in real time, the level of, I think the phrase is double consciousness that they experience in real time every day. Shilling for these people, you know, and it would be worse yet to me if they really did believe a lot of the things that they were saying about Africans, about Africanity, about Black culture, etc., and about the non-existence of white supremacy as capitalism as influences on our contemporary societies. Like, it really does. I don't know. As I said, you said most of it, but it really does break the heart sometimes, you know.
Yeah, no, I agree, bro. Your statement in relation to Barack Obama is a deep one, in the sense of the fact that, so when we look at the principles, as I said at the beginning of the presentation, when we look at the principles that they are designed and designated to defend, Oftentimes we're talking about free market capitalism, etc., etc. And as liberal as the right wing in America acted like Obama was in terms of his, when I say liberal, I'm talking about politically liberal, socially liberal, as you know, all these caricatures about him being a socialist and all kind of stupidness and nonsense. He was actually, when you check it, the last American president of the pure neoliberal order. Yeah, so the order that was set in train as far as America is concerned by Ronald Reagan. Yes, he was the last in that train of politics. Yeah, and what burst that bubble was the financial crisis of 2008. As far as the UK is concerned, the equivalent figure was in fact from Margaret Thatcher, and then you had you know, well, I'm coming through skipping you know, well, okay, let's go for it. Margaret Thatcher, John Major, Tony Blair, and then you had a bit of a transition, you know, Tony Blair, Gordon Brown, and then we went into the conservative governments. Yeah, so they had a bit more of a longer run time in terms of that neoliberal order. Okay, but again, up until 2008 with the financial crisis burst. Yeah, so the point I'm making is that there are elements, there's an extent to which, yes, this black conservative industrial complex is not tied to political parties. Yeah, when we talk about Labour versus Conservative or Republican versus Democrat, as far as the two major English-speaking nations are concerned, yeah, the policies that they engage in and the political theater is often a mask for the actual policies, especially the foreign policies that are taking place underground. Yeah, and so as far as Barack Obama is concerned, one of the major indicators of this is the fact that under his predecessor, George Bush Jr., one of the major policy points was the institutionalization of the US Africa High Command, AFRICOM, on the African continent. Yeah, and George Bush was, generally speaking, unsuccessful in making that happen. The extent to which AFRICOM is existing in, I believe, 32 African nations as it stands at the moment is thanks to the work of one Barack Hussein Obama, the black face on white power. So let us understand the dynamics of that. I'll give you a brief reply before I go on somebody else.
Yeah, just one small, I guess, piece of contention I have with how you describe Obama. It's not that he was caricatured as a liberal; he was caricatured as a progressive. He is a liberal. Liberal and progressive are two completely different.
I take your point. I take your point. I take your point. Yeah, I take your point. I take your point. All right, brothers and sisters, I'm gonna get to your comments. If you have a comment that you want read out, please at gotkushTV. I've started some of them already, but if you have a comment that you want read out, please at gotkushTV. And after Coffee has spoken, we'll get to your comments. All right, go ahead, Coffee.
Yeah, man. Big up to the panel and channel. Yeah, yo, big up Imhotep with him. Communist beret, the green beret there. Yeah, big up. It really look, and the aesthetic look appealing, you know. All right, so lots of terms being thrown around here, without meaningful definitions. I mean, Obama is a liberal. Again, it depends on what you define liberal as. As we know, liberal in the 19th century definition and 18th century definition is different from what the change of meaning is or was when FDR and John Dewey came on the scene to change the word liberal or change the meaning of a liberal from one who advocates limited governments and free markets to one who advocates big government and corporatism and subsidies, etc. So again, I mean, if we really want to educate black people and don't miseducate and spread misinformation and confuse, I think when we say certain terms, I think we should define what we mean first. So if we're going to go with the second definition of liberalism, just come out and say that. But to define Barack Obama as a liberal, I mean, people in the 19th century would laugh at you. Barack Obama is a big government corporatist, just like them name Biden and Trump and them man. All right, so the first slide where you did put up, I don't know if you can put it back up, but it said something about conservative meaning opposed to innovation, right? Yes, no? I myself, may I talk to?
Yeah, no, I didn't say it. That's actually a dictionary definition. It's not ShakaRa. It's this to that. It's so if you've got an issue with that one, you have to take it up with the online dictionary, unfortunately.
Yeah, but you post it, so you have to go try explain it and stuff. So I assume I assume that you read and you understand what you read. So if conservatism is opposed to innovation, and then you go on to say conservatism is now synonymous with capitalism, how would you explain creative destruction?
Repeat your question.
Yeah. Are you familiar with the term creative destruction?
Just repeat your question, and if you want to explain what the term that you're using mean, then
if you're going to equate conservatism with lack of or hostility to innovation and capitalism, that all these things are synonymous. If you're going to lump all them together, how would you explain the term or the concept?
First of all, what is your understanding of what innovation means in the context of this definition?
Innovation meaning the progression, the natural progression of technology or systems or political and social systems. So therefore, if a new technology or way of doing things will improve the lives of the people, cut down labor time, etc., it doesn't matter if it puts people out of work. It doesn't matter if this new innovation threatens the elite, right? Creative destruction, which is inherent in capitalism, dictates that the government is supposed to leave them alone, right? And that is what separates.
Okay. All right. So first things first. On your point about conservatism and sorry, not conservatism. Liberal, the use of the term liberal. So brothers and sisters, you've got an example of what we're strangely enough of what we're discussing here, right? Because somebody who's allegiant to white culture and white civilization and white states feels the need to protect definitions that are precious, to this particular class of white power. So I've used the term liberal, and I did actually say, and when I say this, I mean liberal in the political sense, not necessarily in the economic sense. I did actually say that, right? He now needs because he identifies as a liberal, feels that he needs to come and protect, the standing of white liberals and traditional white liberals, right? So there's a traditional white liberal and there's a progressive white liberal. And as a traditional white liberal, Coffee feels the need to protect and preserve the interest and the definition associated with a traditional white liberal. That's an example of what we've been discussing for the whole show. Okay, we need to understand that. To the second point, this definition is not talking about technology. It's talking about culture and tradition, and the values within that context, right? That's how I understood it anyway. However, if you have a beef, feel free to write to the online dictionary or Oxford Dictionary or Webster Dictionary or any of the dictionaries that use the term innovation and an aversion to innovation in relation to what conservative means, and take it up with them. Okay, it's not my definition, and the word innovation here is not something that was germane to my argument. If it was, I might be trying to defend it, but it wasn't, so I'm not going to. But I didn't understand it in the context, or I didn't interpret the use of the word innovation in the context of technology and capitalism being adverse to technological advancement. That's not how I understood it at all. So I'm not sure where the argument comes from. I'm not even trying to debate it, because it's not important.
So how you understood that word to be? How you understood it when you chose it?
it's about holding on to particular kinds of traditions. Yeah, so they don't want to innovate within the context, or they're adverse to certain levels of innovation within their culture, within the values of their culture. Yes, and within the structures and the systems of power that exist within their culture. So yeah, technology will evolve. You know what I'm saying? And, and so on and so forth. But generally speaking, the culture and the social institutions and economic and political institutions of the culture are designed to preserve the interests, yes, of those who have traditionally held power, yes, within that culture.
But capitalism came to oppose traditional feudal nobility, aristocratic, mercantilist culture. So how you can equate capitalism with adversity?
And within that context, there's an extent to which that is true. But for example, I live in the United Kingdom of Great Britain. The aversion of the merchant class to feudalism or the rule of the monarchy didn't fundamentally change the nature of the system in which you live. In fact, the monarchy in this country still exists and is still the power or the institution in which power in this country is vested in. Yeah, so we're not talking about an overnight revolutionary change, but you will be correct in saying that there was a significant change with the rise of capitalism in terms of the interest that particular system was designed to serve, and within that context, it creates a new tradition that now that class wants to preserve. Yeah, so we're not talking about a total upheaval of British culture and British society, and even an upheaval in the social stratification and in terms of who holds power in this country, because the monarchy still exists. Yes.
Who holds power under capitalism
and exerts power in that regard. So yeah.
Who holds power under capitalism?
I'll leave you to guess that. Who do you think holds power under capitalism?
Well, if you look at what happened to Bud Light, there's the answer.
Bud Light. Okay, thank you very much, brothers and sisters. You can research Bud Light and we can get back.
Where's Bud Light now?
One thing,
that's your homework, all right? You know what I'm saying? Give it thanks. I'm gonna go on to brother Anthony. Sorry, not brother Anthony. I'm gonna come to brother Anthony, but brother IC3 was before you. So go ahead, brother IC3. Long time no see, and hoping that you're well.
Yes, fighting still, fighting.
Aye.
So what I'm going to present here, my view is very unpopular. But something I think needs to be said.
That's highly uncharacteristic of you, Mr. IC3.
I'm going to challenge you a bit as well. You see, it's true you have these knights, these pawns, and so on, but
peons,
not
pawns,
okay.
peons.
Yeah,
all right.
These peons, yeah.
I'm getting terminology correct.
Yeah. But when we move into the realm of solution, solution.
Yes.
Depending on how we see and understand the structure will depend on how we will treat our fellow black people. So I'll just give you my position, then you can work it out. Yeah. I see all of those black people that appear to be in positions of power appear. So if there's a system of white supremacy exists, then all those black people who appear to be in good jobs, positions of power, they don't really have any power. They are actually hostages, even though they might not even know it. They're actually victims if white supremacy exists. And if they are victims, right, and then we behave as black people, as a nation, as a state, using statecraft, then what we do, we look at the situation as a hostage situation. And how does the government behave under hostage situations? First of all, they cordon off all the roads, lock it all down, so the public don't understand what's going on.
You bomb everything into oblivion, I see true.
Pardon?
You bomb everything into oblivion when you have a hostage situation, I see true.
Okay. Yes, there you are. So therefore, you see the situation. Okay, so I'm saying that these black people who appear to be in positions of power, they're actually hostages to the white supremacists, and they will do what they're doing, what they're told to do. So as a state, if you're thinking on state level, you think, right, we have a hostage situation, and you bring in all the top people. You get all the top sharpshooters, you get the top negotiators, yes, and their objective is to save the hostages and take out the hostage takers, the terrorists.
Yeah.
If you don't see in that situation, that means a lot of people say, kill off all these black people as well. The black people that are helping the white people, they're all the same. They're all got to go. Kill off the black leaders. Do you understand? But when you see it as a hostage situation, yeah, what you got to do is you got to take out the terrorists and save the hostages. Do you see the big difference?
Question. I see for you, and I take your point. But when there are no, you gave a war analysis and you gave a nations based analysis, yeah. Okay. How does a nation deal with traitors and people who are treasonous, who are members of the nation? Like, if for example, using your war analysis, yeah. If there are people within your nation who are giving secrets to the people that you are at war with, how do we address? How do we deal with those people?
All right. Okay. Good. Very good. Very sharp. But first of all, you have to have the nation. Yes.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm putting it in the context of your analogy, right? So I'm saying, I'm assuming that there's a nation concept already around at the moment, yeah, within your analogy. So I'm saying, within the context of your analogy, how does the nation deal with people? Like, we're at war. You gave a nation analogy and you gave a war analogy. So I'm saying, with you, and you've given the example of hostages. I'm problematizing your analogy now, and I'm putting in people who are literal agents of the opposing army, and are providing secrets and information to the opposing army that you are fighting against. How are those people dealt with?
Right. Okay. So therefore, they have internal affairs, don't they? And they have internal investigators who seek out spies that might be working for the other side within. And then what they usually do, what the state does, is put them in prison, doesn't they?
Right.
Correct?
Okay. Yes. And well, there are other things that are done as well, but yes, that would be one way of dealing with them, right?
So, not when you're at war. Not when you're at war.
Well, yeah, it all depends, yeah. And there's a few wars going on at the moment that might give us some indicators as to what nations do when they encounter said people, right?
That's right.
Now, let me say that I'm not necessarily rubbishing your characterization of hostage, and I'm not necessarily imposing my own of traitors, yeah, in that distinct sense, right? Sending secrets to the enemy, yeah. What I am saying is that there's variables between these dynamics, yeah. And so as it relates to what I have said today, I have spoken about it in the context of propaganda. And so if we understand it in the context of propaganda warfare, the solution would be to wage counter propaganda warfare. Yes, in that regard, in relation to the minds of our people. Maybe there are some sincere individuals that have been caught up in this black conservative industrial complex that may be able to be rescued from it, yeah, via the propaganda that we put out there. Maybe there are some who are so deeply embedded in it, and are sincere in their allegiance to it, that they have in fact made of themselves the enemy of the interests of the masses of our people. And so we have to treat them as such. That is my inclination with that is concerned. I would say, for example, the 99% of the leaders of our majority black nations in Africa and the Caribbean as too far gone. Yes.
Oh my God.
I would. Yeah, for the most part, I would. These are people that sit at the helm of nations. Yes, and wield the power of the state against the masses of our people. Yes, and so unless now it may be the case, right, that we get to the point whereby we have the requisite amount of power and influence to call them to account. Yes, and to neutralize them. We may get to that point, yeah, and that would be a good position to be in, right? Just what I'm saying. In fact, that would be actually, in fact, the goal, yeah, that we have to aim for. But as it stands at the moment, for the most part, they have made of themselves the open enemies of the interest of the masses of our people. That's just the reality of the situation. As far as those who are political leaders are concerned. Those who are talking heads in the media, it's not as dire a circumstance. Yeah, it's an important one. It's a dynamic that we need to understand. But those people do not wield the machinery of the state. They are simply clients of those who wield the machinery of the state, and we must deal with them accordingly within that context as well. Like I said, for me, the emphasis will be on propaganda warfare. I hope that addresses your point.
Yeah, well, therefore, you'll be saying then, from your angle, that white supremacy doesn't exist and that African leaders
absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm saying that there's white supremacy, and then there are those among us who make of themselves clients of the white supremacist order. Yeah,
right.
So
and they're victims. Then those clients are victims, correct?
To a degree, but when those clients,
that word degree.
But yes, but I've already said those that we can save, we save, right? That we should always leave the door open, yeah, right. You should, I'm saying, yeah, to that degree, right? At the same time, when the victimized becomes the victimizer of the masses, then that becomes the scale of that becomes different. For example, I am in full agreement with the brothers and sisters in Congo in the 1960s who picked up arms against Joseph Mobutu. Yes, I am in full agreement with them, in full support of them, and the extent to which he was willing, as a client of France and America, to terrorize the Congo for over 30 years makes the rebellion of the people of the Congo just and right, and I would never condemn them for rising up against him. And the terrorism that he inflicted on the nation for all those years as a client of France and America. That's just what it is. Yeah. I hope that answers the question, my brother. I'm gonna feel free to stay where you are. Anthony, greetings.
Hey, what's going on, my brother? Y'all doing okay? Can y'all hear
Yeah, man, we're good.
Yeah, man. Great. First of all, great show, man. And I mean, you pretty much, it's hard to come behind you, man, because you pretty much broke it down real quick. You broke it down. But you know, I mean, two things, man. This black conservative thing, man. It kind of reminds me of what Dr. Amos Wilson said. What exactly are they trying to conserve? You know what I'm saying? I mean, what exactly are they trying to conserve? But I'm gonna give you the perfect example of what we just got through talking about. Haiti. This leadership, this leadership in Haiti, man.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? And that has been in place ever since the Duvaliers. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the people can't move nowhere because of these leaders, man. Because of those people, you know, and whether we want to call them puppets or whatever, you know, gatekeepers or whatever they are, you know, for the white power structure in America. I mean, I think the only solution, I mean, they gone, man. You got to just do away with them, man. For real.
Yeah, forget that, Rusty.
I know it don't sound, you know, it might sound straight. They got to just run them up out of there, man. That's the only way the people of Haiti gonna ever move. And I think it's the same way on the continent with a lot of our people there too, man.
100%.
I mean, we seeing it like, no, we got hope, man. We keeping hope in the brother Treyo and Burkina Faso. So and those other brothers, man, we keeping hope, man. I hope it's, man, don't break my heart, please. Don't break my heart, please. You know what I'm saying? But across the continent, I mean, you know what I'm saying, man. We put our hope in them, and then, you know, they turn around and become another Mobutu. So I'm hoping that don't happen. But across the continent, man, across the black world, like even in the Caribbean, these leaders who is bed with these people, man. The only way we gotta just run them up out of there. I mean, even to the extreme level, man. You gotta 100%. Do away with these people, man. Because if you don't do away with them, if you don't get extreme with them, man, you ain't gonna never move nowhere. Look how long our people in Haiti been trying to fight for freedom, man. You know what I'm saying? I ain't just talking about from 200 years ago, but I'm talking about just ever since they ran the Duvaliers out.
100%.
Just think how they feel when they got the baby doctor out of there. Hey, man, you know, things probably gonna look up for us. And they had bullshit ever since then.
Bro, your example is a good one, and because the evidence on that one is so clear in the sense of the fact that the extent to which the heads of state of Haiti have been clients of America for a very, very long time. Yeah, and whenever the people of Haiti revolt enough to the extent whereby they're able to get, you know, one of their own in, that person is removed. It's as simple as that. You know what I'm saying? And literal American invasion come take the people them out of the country, Tarati. Yeah. So that's the level that we're dealing with here. You know what I'm saying? And then you know, people agitate some more, then so they bring the person back to, you know, to quell the disquiet and them thing there. And then the brethren say, I got him want to push for the reparation. Go in again, just ship him out of the country. You know what I'm saying? And you know, since then, yeah, so it's madness, yeah. And I think that's what we're seeing at the moment in Haiti. We're seeing a boiling over of the frustrations of the people. We've elected, you know, people that we want to be in power, and they have not been allowed to serve. Yes. And so there's not really you haven't really given the people another option here. Yeah. And the issue is that CARICOM now have gone to the same people that are responsible. Yes, it wasn't just America. France was involved. Canada was involved. Brazil was involved. Yes. No one of them was involved. They called on those same people come and mediate the process of transition of power right now in Haiti. It's madness. Yeah. We keep on, I go to the CM, devil them to solve our problem. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, and I'm not saying this as a definitive statement, you know. But here to today might be more stable than it was yesterday. I say might be. I'm not saying it as a definitive statement, you know. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah, the guy who was the president, yeah, Ariel Henry, was just placed in the position by the American government. Then I'm going to talk about they want election. When it suit them. They just put the guy in place. There was no election for this guy. They just put him in place. But now they're trying to negotiate for an immediate election, which means, really what that means is they're trying to facilitate a process by which they can get their person in power. Yeah? You know, Hillary Clinton has gone to Haiti literally after the earthquake in 2010. Yeah, literally went there to facilitate an election and make sure that America's man was in power in Haiti. Yeah. This is how people work. Yeah, and so the clients that are operating in the elite in Haiti.
When America did put Aristide back in power,
our commission. Go on, Coffee. Interrupt. Go on.
When America did put back Aristide in power.
What did you say? Repeat what you just said.
When back, America, yeah? Right. When then they put him back in power.
Yes.
And then the people them rise up against him. Just like how Papa Doc was elected.
So that's not what happened.
And then I don't fish my question. Well, man, I don't fish your question. Just like how Papa Doc was elected. And the people them rise up against Baby Doc and son. Yes, he was elected. Hold on, brethren. Anybody listening can read the book From Dessalines to Duvalier. Papa Doc was elected and he was opposed by the United States, who supported his mulatto rival. All right. So again, if anybody will read the history of Haiti Star, I don't know who.
Sorry. Does the book state that Papa Doc was a client of the United States of America? Did he serve the interests of the United States of America? Was he working with American corporations in Haiti?
In the later stages, after them
in the later stages.
You ask me a question, brethren. Just hold on, man. You ask me a question. After them impose the sanctions, because of the pretext was human rights abuse, blah blah. So them impose sanctions upon him, but him end up signing something with them. And then lift the sanctions after, and then them son come in and try liberalize, and then them kick him out, and then Aristide get elected, and then them kick out Aristide, and then put back Aristide, and then kick out Aristide again, and then somebody else come in and then kick out that.
So let me clarify this.
Haitian history is so complex. I don't see how people can see good guys and bad guys in this drama.
this is anyway, this is nonsense that you just said. But the reality of
which part is nonsense?
The reality of the situation, your last sentence in terms of trying to paint it as a good guys, bad guy situation.
Well, John Henry Clark said sometimes in human drama they're just bad guys. That's what John Henry Clark said.
The reality of
you looking for good guy.
The reality of
Aristide or whoever.
The reality of the situation, and Frey. So again, when we talk about this idea of the Black conservative industrial complex and their intentions, well, like I said, the intention is to conserve and protect and preserve white power, and what comes along with that is the narratives of white power. So one of the aspects of it is that because Aristide is seen as a popular leader of the people, he must be demonized and put in the
How did I demonize him? Tell me.
Of a Papa Doc, because of the fact, that everybody knows that Papa Doc was a client of the West.
How did I demonize Aristide?
Must conflate. I'm going to finish my statement. So what actually happened was the fact that what actually happened when the second time Aristide was shipped out of the country by the Americans, and not that they never did that with the rest of them, is that when he was brought back, they were expecting him to toe the line with Bill Clinton and those who came after him and George Bush and so on and so forth. What Aristide did was to organize the nation of Haiti to campaign on the international stage against France for the reparation of 21 billion in that time's money, which is the amount that Haiti was forced to pay France in 1825 for reparations for loss of property because Haiti dared to liberate itself from enslavement.
And the genocide.
That's
the story they wanted for the genocide.
That issue, was the reason why Haiti was invaded in 2004, and Aristide and his members of his government were shipped out of the country and taken to I believe it was Central African Republic, and then Aristide himself ended up in South Africa. That is what happened. Following that, and I'm not into. I believe this is still the case today, but don't quote me on this. But definitely, in the election that followed the earthquake after 2010, Aristide's party, Lavalas, which translates something like family, was not even allowed to stand for the election. Why? Because America said, democracy. America dictated who can and who can't run for election within Haiti society after the earthquake. That is what's happened in Haiti. As I've said, I'm going to be dealing with this next week, so we're not going like too much today.
But I thought you said democracy is a Western concept.
Into it next week, African scientist.
Yeah, man, bless up Shaka panel and channel.
Sorry, King. Before I come to you, I've neglected the chat. And I forgot to raise an issue based upon some news that has been released today, in relation to Diane Abbott. But we'll get to that. I'll get to that after you speak. But somebody remind me if I get to this Diane Abbott issue a little more. If I get through the comments now and I've missed your comment, please repost it and I will come to it. Okay. Anthony said, Abibi to me, Abibi for Hondiye. Say Imhotep said, I love when you rattle off your names. Yes, King, you know that's what I think. I'm attempting to replace those ridiculous hashtags FBA ADOS with a new hashtag, DOEA, descendants of enslaved Africans. That actually already exists. That actually already exists, Anthony. There's a check out the work of Sister Jessica Ann Mitchell Iwuyor, aka Jam Iwuyor, and she goes into this something similar already actually exists. You can find her on social media, Jam Iwuyor. So you might find dots in between the jam, so J.A.M because it's an acronym. Jessica Ann Mitchell, Iwuyor. Yeah. Iwuyor is spelled AYWUOR, I believe. Yeah. But try that and you'll get something. But just jump, sister jam Iwuyor. Good sister. Anthony says, got Kush TV. Barack Obama was the epitome of white nationalism in blackface. I agreed, and we've dealt with that. Barack Obama is a knight. I would agree. Although I would put he's kind of in between black conservative and black liberal. Yeah, there is a black liberal industrial complex. Let's not get it twisted. Got Kush TV. In America, that black conservative narrative appeared in a book called Declining Significance of Race. Yeah, there's actually a book being published. And sorry, there's a psychologist by the name of Bobby E. Wright who spoke about this book, and the brother that wrote it was apparently married to a European. So he says, he said, I would imagine that race declines for him every night. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, let's move on. In reality, this book is not the only one. There's another one that's being written by one of the individuals who I mentioned last week. Tony Sewell has a book coming out called The End of Race. Yeah, Tony Sewell, UK prominent member of the gentry and knight class of the black conservative industrial complex in the UK. Right, African scientist.
Yeah, man. Big up Shaka panel and channel. Nice show. Kind of very similar to the last show. One thing off the top of my mind that I saw recently, I found it very interesting. I think it's Swaziland. I saw this actually from Swahili Nation, is another YouTube channel I follow, but I see him say something like them have a shortage of men in the country and them inviting guys from other South African countries to move there and then can get 5 wives or something like that. I found that pretty hilarious. I almost get my passport.
Yeah, I'm just saying, you book your flight yet? You know what I'm saying?
I'm about to turn a passport, bro. You know what I mean? I'm about to turn a passport, bro. But yeah, Kofi come with him usual madness. One thing I did see that was very interesting was cause normally we're questioning what over there, cause we're getting double back in Haiti right now still. So one thing I was questioning before was like, what is in Haiti? Why potentially any Western power might be interested, right? Cause I never know of any mineral wealth or anything. So I end up doing some Googles, and what I find out is that apparently in 2012 there's like a discovery and like some different Western companies did explore and then they find $20 billion potentially of gold, copper, and then say our next thing that said them apparently have the second largest deposit of iridium in the world. So only South Africa apparently have more iridium than them. So there is apparently mineral wealth confirmed in Haiti, right?
I've heard oil as well. I've heard oil as well, but I think that's a lesser concern.
Right.
But yeah,
man. So them have all of these things. And when it comes to know like the huge CARICOM like meeting about it, I hear US pledge 130. Well, I see it in Jamaica, Glean. US pledge like 133 million US, on top of like a next 33 million US or something like that for the, I guess, CARICOM coalition to come together. It really
that sounds like overspending to me. You know what I'm saying?
I don't know. Well, it's hard for me to estimate. Cause I could imagine it would be a serious thing. Cause the guy who I run off.
I joke me around. The point I'm making is that look how them just shell out 100 and blow a million. So yeah, you know what I'm saying. You know, there's 100 and just give them 100 million. So you know what I'm saying. Like it's madness. It's madness. Anyway, sorry, go on, King, go on.
No, man, I'd like, to me, them should have throw more money still because they look very complicated. Because the guy who must say I run off Haiti now, the guy them called Barbecue, I hear him say Haiti do belong to CARICOM. Seem like have an interview and I'm a question him and it's like, yo, Haiti do belong to CARICOM.
Listen, this is why he's right, yeah, in that statement, yeah. And I'm not. I've heard different things about barbecue, on you know, on both sides of the spectrum, yeah. So it's not an endorsement necessarily, and it's not a condemnation either of the man. But that statement is correct. The Caribbean has failed, yes, failed Haiti consistently over the years. Failed Haiti consistently. The Caribbean has been consistent willing agents of America, yes, in the destabilization and the subjugation of the people of Haiti. 100%. So there is no reason under the blue sky why anybody in Haiti should feel allegiant to CARICOM as an institution. Yes? What's it called? The rest of the people in the Caribbean, certainly. There are many people in the Caribbean who have defended Haiti and protected Haiti and advocated on Haiti's behalf. But CARICOM as an institution has failed, yes, Haiti consistently. So there's no, so barbecue bloody right to condemn them blow and tell them for go. A bombo.
No, well, true, cause you know, CARICOM them treat Haiti like them is a part of CARICOM and like them is not a part of CARICOM. So it's like, yeah, everybody can travel without visa, but apparently Haitians need visa for travel to other CARICOM states. So look away. And
you must know going to Jamaica when you've mentioned it before. When the people them come on off of the coast of Jamaica from Haiti, and the way people are treating them over there.
Yeah, them deport them, but the Jamaica recently come and say, huh?
Go on.
Nah, what I was saying is that Jamaica recently come and said I'm going to accept the orphans, but you know, in my own materialistic, capitalistic mindset, I said them should have more willing to accept skilled labor, expand it beyond orphans, and they should accept all the skilled labor from Haiti, especially if you consider, say, you want import labor from India and China. Look away, right?
100%. That's the other thing, though, in terms of what you said, in terms of what the interest that America has. The other interest that America has in Haiti is cheap labor. That's the other interest that it has in Haiti. Yeah. And so, because they've been using Haiti basically for cheap labor for quite some time, for significantly. So, yeah. King, say where you are. I'm gonna come to Imhotep Kaimwa say something, and we'll come back to you. Let's up.
I just, maybe this is something that we should keep in mind for this conversation and future conversations as well, which is that imperialist states don't necessarily deal with every subjugated nation in the same way, because there are certain. Well, I mean, some of us on the panel may not comprehend that concept. You understand?
No, yeah, I agree.
There are certain things which a particular, current nation state, a 21st century nation state, can offer to an imperial state, which would make it act in a particular set of subjugation, whereas other with no minerals, no population or whatever, might be a viable state for tax haven. Understand what I mean? So it's like the idea that because many states in a region are victim to neocolonialism at the time from the same actor means that they should have the same outcomes, I think is fallacious from the beginning.
Yeah, it's not even just fallacious, it's unintelligent. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't make sense to assume that would be the case. So yeah, them overly simplistic reasonings there, they're designed for the purpose of deflection and distraction more than engaging in intelligent discourse.
My turn now.
We don't even need for content.
My turn now.
No, not your turn. No, it's not your turn. Yeah, so it's a good thing you just said that about oversimplifications, because now you bring me now to the anti-academic. Cause the thing with the neoconservative black, that like they're actually anti-academic and they don't do good scholarship, When them don't have the qualifications, them don't even take proper reference. So for instance, Kofi will try to. I don't know how you listen. You know, some you listen to Robert Reich, you know, Kofi. 'Cause I don't even subscribe to him, right? So it's kind of suspicious. So you know that. But I didn't even know. I had to Google who Robert Reich was. But this man was like former, like him working big position in the U.S. government. The man is a credential economist. I don't know where you come from with any former attitude to talk down on that man, right? With no credentials.
He's not an
But
economist. He's a labor secretary, a former labor secretary.
yeah, well, him have more credentials. So I had to look up now and say, all right, then that's that guy who you criticize. So I want to know from you is, because since you pull us constantly in economic debates, your madness rubbing off on me. Now me I try pay attention to economic stuff. So I'd like to know from you.
Just to say, Melaman, before you ask your question, Robert Reich is in fact qualified economist. He studied philosophy, politics, and economics. Yeah. So he is actually, technically speaking, an economist in that sense. Yeah. But anyway,
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah, so once again, he misrepresent information as usual. Par for the course. So one of the things you had done recently, you misrepresent or you oversimplified inflation, and it causes. So I listened to another economist that go into detail and explain how, you know, it's multiple variables and each variable have how much factors to it, and it's more than just monetary policy. But being that you are the economic person on the panel, I'd just like to know from you, which economist, otherwise than Thomas Sowell, because I know you said Thomas Sowell, give me an economist that gives predictions that are consistently right that we can reference to. Just name an economist that we as Black people can look at and then make predictions and it's consistently right. That's what I'd like to know.
All right, before I answer your stupid straw man, let me just go back to the excuses about Haiti. I mean, I can't think about no other kind of racism than to imply say Haitians have no agency. I mean, the amount of excuse the man them come up with. Yo, last one was, them want cheap labor from Haiti. Who is them? Hong Kong rise through cheap labor. Singapore rise through cheap labor. China rise through cheap labor. Even America and Britain, they go through the sweatshop phase. This is a phase every capitalist country go through until they build up the capital through investments and capital accumulation to go further into manufacturing and then service.
Question,
Am I going to be allowed to speak like everybody else? Come on, man. It's too obvious now, man. You're too obvious with the bias, man.
You will be allowed to speak. You will be allowed to speak, and this is another one of the tactics of the Black conservative industrial complex to create fabrication. Because the idea that you are not allowed to speak on this platform is a joke. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like anybody
so I never interrupt the other guests then.
I've interrupted.
I was interrupted, sir.
He was interrupted. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah, just to say that Robert Reich wasn't an economist, and he's not.
I'm not in fact.
I never interrupted to go off on some foolishness and ad hominem and all them something there.
Your take. You know what? If you had just stopped talking, I'd have been finished my question already. You've been able to continue your point. So relax. Who you say? Cheap labor. Every nation rise through cheap labor. Who cheapens the labor? Who's responsible for cheapening the labor of a country?
You're on it.
What is it?
All right, so my turn now.
Yeah, I'm asking you a question. Who cheapens the labor of the country?
Okay, good. So I'll address your fallacies afterwards. So in when name the Beret comrade say in 2012 they find mineral in Haiti and all these precious minerals and that is why Haiti under so much instability and pressure. Yo, this communists don't know anything about Haitian history. Coups and intrigues and assassination that go on from the first president who then did lynch, right? Nobody never vote out Dessalines and lynch him, right? And this just go on throughout them history. You understand? So to to suggest say is mineral why America have to destabilize Haiti is really in 2012. It's really foolishness. Cause Trinidad, no socialists, So I mean Trinidad have oil, Guyana have oil, diamond, and other things too. You understand? But these two countries are peaceful, stable democracies. Okay, one time some idiot one time some idiot some idiot Muslim they try overthrow, and it was quickly he wouldn't get no support, and it was quickly addressed, and Trinidad went on to be peaceful. Guyana was hobbled by Burnham and his authoritarian rule. Him never even did have no plebiscite like Nkrumah to suspend dictatorship. All him do was just thief elections. But after the Cold War in 1990, they had open and fair elections in Guyana, and Chedi Jagan was elected, and Guyana continued to be a peaceful, stable country in the region with all its resources. The only unstable or the only one threatening instability in that region is socialist Venezuela. All right, and it's very telling that people would need democracy to validate our steed. You know, yes, they never allowing party to whatever because you know that them fight against democracy and it's will of the people and all that. But yet still we look at Nkrumah and say, yeah, in right to suspend democracy because democracy is a Western concept and blah blah blah. You understand? Difference between Pinochet and Nkrumah is that Pinochet rule started out as a dictatorship and it ended in a democracy and improved economic conditions. Whereas Nkrumah started out as a Democrat and ended up as a dictator with deteriorated economic conditions.
No, that was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Applause. Thank you.
Answer my question though, bro. You never answered.
Yeah. I was gonna say
ask it over. Come and forget. Me forget your full question then. Ask it over. Me forget.
And by the way,
I'm gonna ask him again.
By the way, it's not really possible for a straw man, for a question to be a straw man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is no.
Let's not misuse the term straw man. All right, but repeat your question, African scientist.
All right, full
because
question.
The thing is, all right, because this is the thing, you know, Kofi. In all seriousness, like my number one thing with the black community is anti-academia. So even ShakaRa, whenever, if you notice, ShakaRa know this. Anytime him or anybody say anything remotely anti-academic, it's like I attack dog. My off. So when you come with an attitude like this, even how you speak, it make me know you can't get the econ degree. So I'm gonna just ask you again, very simple, and I want you to listen as a good student. Name one economist who routinely gives accurate predictions outside of Thomas Sowell. Please, thank you.
When you say routinely, you mean all the time or most of the time?
Wonder if you study English language.
Tell me.
Routinely,
Teacher,
definition.
There's no such thing as a stupid question. There's no such thing as a stupid question.
Coffee. Well, no, I'm giving you the definition. You wanted the definition of routinely, right? As part of a regular procedure rather than for a special occasion. Okay.
So
regular procedure. So routinely just mean regularly. Yeah, it don't mean all the while. You know what I'm saying? It just mean regularly. Yeah?
Okay, so it's
frequently and without proper. No, that's something else. That's a different definition. Sorry, go ahead.
Frequently. No,
so I'm saying scratch that from the record because that was part of something else. I'm misreading something. So you can just go with as part of regular.
I know the premise the communists coming from. In coming from the premise that economics routinely get things. Economists don't agree on X.
Brother, again, answer the question. Again,
you have to allow me to talk.
Cambridge Dictionary might help as well. Used for describing what often or usually happens. Yeah,
okay,
that's routine.
good. White people dictionary. So that's it. Good. White people dictionary. Nice.
Yeah,
So
we are speaking English, bro. You know what I'm saying?
so
the white
so
man language.
the Austrian school of economics routinely predicts the business cycle based off their knowledge of the central bank, fractional reserve banking, and how that affects malinvestments in the economy and the business cycle. The idea that economics
Hold on. Come off here and answer. You said the Austrian School of Economics.
Austrian School of Economics routinely gets the business cycle prediction.
May I try understand? Hold on, may I try understand you? Bro, can you just calm down? I'm trying to understand.
Because me attack and you interrupt me.
But I don't understand. So we make it gonna further. Man, you're saying the Austria, that's what, an organization, I have a website where we can find, or I'm trying to get your answer. You see what I'm saying? So don't be so defensive. You're saying I should go to their website. Is it a person who's the leader of it? That's what I'm trying to figure out.
Yeah, go on Google Austrian School Economics, or you can go on the website mises.org, MISES.org.
Okay.
I put some links in the box chat for you, Melman.
Sorry.
I'll check that out.
That's it? You have a follow-up?
No, that's it.
Yeah, you know, simple as you take it, coffee. Sometimes people just want to know something. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Just wanted to learn something. You know. So yeah, I saw it go. All right. I also had a question for you, which was who decides or devalues the labor of a country, or decides?
Okay, good. Right. All right. So nobody devalues the labor of a country except the government. Only the government has the power to interfere in the free flow of labor markets. What determines the price of labor is productivity. If a worker can only produce $5, and if the government sets the minimum wage above that, then what you're going to get is those persons who are able to produce the $5 will get the job, and those persons who aren't able to produce that, those persons who can't produce at 5 or more will lose a job. So it's a mischaracterization to say such and such controls the labor, or to imply that corporations control the supply of labor. No, it is the market that controls the price of labor.
No. That would be a contradiction, though. Sorry, and by the way, I never said anything about corporations. I asked you who, because cheapens the labor, because the statement
productivity
has been made.
Cheap.
Sorry. Because the statement, because when you say China cheapened its labor, so and so.
No. I did not say that.
Yeah, you did.
I said cheap. I said China used cheap labor to rise. Listen good.
And certainly.
I'm not surprised the Trinity never hear good news.
And certainly.
Pull up a weed.
Certainly, that statement definitely has been made before by yourself, that China cheapened its labor. At the same time, I think you're
cheapened their labor. I said they use.
At the same time, I think though your first sentence is the answer to the question, that the government is the institution that cheapens the labor within its nation.
I never said that. So my youth, your bad face no ass, I'm not telling you, boy. I'm not telling you. I never said anything like that.
Apparently he never said that the government is the only institution that has the power to cheapen labor.
I said the government is the only institution that can interfere in the market and cause.
Bro, you didn't say all of that last time, bro. Don't lie. You didn't say all of that last time.
Anyway, let's move on. IC3, we're gonna wrap up soon, brothers and sisters. Yeah, we're gonna wrap up soon. But go on to IC3.
Yeah, so this is for I'm trying to understand Kofi's position. So, Kofi, do you accept the possibility of state capture, that a government can be captured by an outside entity, and that outside entity can force the state to?
No, I see free. The state
Well,
doesn't
no, it's
capture.
meme ask, you know. It's meme ask. It's meme ask.
Yeah. I'll learn. I'm learning. Go on.
Well, I know a meme ask, brethren. Yeah, yeah.
Market capture earlier. Yeah, David.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to go there afterwards. I want to deal with the state.
Right.
Then deal with the market.
So therefore, the state capture is a reality, which is what, going back to Adam Smith. When Adam Smith wrote against mercantilism, he was writing against state capture. So I don't deny state capture by corporations and unions. What I take issue with is the implication by people like Meloman. Well, I think it was him too. The Trinidad communists and the Garveyite socialists implying that corporations in Jamaica corrupt the Jamaican government. Anybody will know, Jamaican politicians know, say we don't need outside corporations to corrupt our politicians. So I don't buy the argument. And before them deny it, go back to the econ deception program, where we were talking about backside corporations and the whole corruption of pollution, etc. The Trinidad communists, did say, who corrupt the government?
You have never heard me speak about Jamaican politics ever.
Go back.
Don't malign me, please.
Anybody listening can go back.
They are all.
Anybody can go back and listen to that episode, Econ Deception, where we're talking about bauxite companies and their pollution, and you said or implied that is the corporations corrupt the government. He said, who corrupt the government? You're implying, say the bauxite corporations corrupt the Jamaican government, and every Jamaican would laugh at you. We don't need outside people to corrupt our government and our politicians. Come on, corruption or power that corrupts is a human trait, whether it's corporations, whether it's politicians, and whether it's unions, right? Too much power centralized is going to corrupt, and that's what explains Haiti's instability.
Corruption is a human trait, except when it's Russia or Cuba or Venezuela.
Okay, did I say that? Yeah. Oh, come on.
No, because then it's communism and socialism. That's not human.
If communism and socialism centralizes power, then they're more prone to corruption.
And America doesn't centralize power at all. Okay.
Yes, it does with corporatism.
Don't let him get off the state capture. Don't let him get off the state capture.
No,
get off. How me get off? Oh, we are talking about Trini. We are talking about get off.
Brothers and sisters,
answer the question.
I have to wrap up the show. Yeah.
Okay.
That will come back to these points in the future. All right. Next week we're going to be dealing with Haiti, so I hope everybody comes back. Sorry, you did say that, IC3. I will allow you to ask that question. Go ahead.
Yeah. So the next level is: do you believe that it's possible that the market can be captured in the same way that a state can?
No, man, what you deal with, man? The invisible hand.
I want to see. I want to hear what he says. I want to hear what he says.
You don't know about the invisible hand, IC3.
Yo, ShakaRa, look like him know the answer.
The invisible hand, formidable. It is undefeated and undefeatable.
That's it. That's it. ShakaRa knows.
Government is not controlled by a corporation. In fact, the invisible hand is a sentient being in and of itself. You know. You know that. The invisible hand has intelligence to rotted. I want you to know that. We kind of full focus here.
I want to hear. I want to see if Kofi's going to say that. I know you would say that. I don't know if Kofi's going to say that. I want to hear what he says.
Oh, the invisible hand, IC3. You have to know the invisible hand of God, which is the
I am going to say in answer to your question that ShakaRa has learned his lesson well.
Of course.
That's the answer.
E. Milton Friedman. You don't know. Yeah. All right, brothers and sisters, that wraps up our show for today. So I'm gonna ask ones and ones to excuse themselves from the panel, and we're going just wrap up the show quickly. By the way, brothers and sisters, it's very interesting, yeah, that you have heard to a significant degree a live example of what I was discussing for the majority of the show. Yeah, you know, so the idea that there's corruption in Jamaican society somehow negates the idea that you know, American government and corporations are in fact involved in this corruption, are in fact the authors of the corruption. Right? You know what I'm saying? It like there has never been a time to say that we don't need outside forces to corrupt Jamaican society presumes that there was a time when these outside forces did not exist. And I'm sorry to tell you, no, that's not the case. There has never been a point in Jamaican society when foreign governments and foreign corporations have not influenced the political and economic system. That is called colonialism and neocolonialism. The corruption in Jamaica is a direct reflection and outgrowth of the colonial and neocolonial system. The corruption in Haiti is a direct outgrowth of the neocolonial system. It has been for a very, very long time. Now, that is not to say that nations don't have their own challenges, but if that is the case, then why is there so much of a history, for example, in Haiti, going back to the 1800s of European nations attempting to mash up this nation? It begins with Haiti kicking out the slave masters and declaring its independence. And the entirety of the Western world not only did not recognize the nation, a fact which some of the people in Haiti were able to use to their advantage, by the way. Yeah, but that's another story. That history is another one for another time. So again, the idea that the capture of our nations and our economies negates our agency is nonsense. The agency of African people has always been manifested in our capacity to withstand and resist and fight against these institutions, and how they affect those among us who are willing to be their clients. That's agency. Yes, the people of Haiti have always exercised their agency in fighting against the neocolonial realities that have been imposed on them. Always. It has never not existed. That is one of the reasons why the consistent fight against them has to persist, because that nation, that people have always fought back. We're gonna not discuss, yeah, the fact that America collaborated with the rest of the Western world, the European world, even though they were at war with Britain, you know, yeah, during this period, yeah, you know what I'm saying, all right, but they knew their interest enough, and Napoleon said this in so many words. Yes, that none of the European powers want a free nation in the Americas. They're all going to collaborate with us into the complete subjugation of Haiti. So we can talk about the fact, for example, that in 1825, when France sailed to Haiti with the hundreds of cannons set to train on that nation, with the threat to bomb it to smithereens if it did not pay reparations for loss of private property for having freed itself 19-20 years earlier. Even though France was at war with Britain during that time, it was Britain ruled Britannia, Britannia rules the waves, that gave them and granted them free passage to do so. Remember, France was America's ally in the American Revolution. Remember, the United States of America was one of the primary beneficiaries because of the fact that France, as a result of losing one of its most valuable colonies, couldn't afford to maintain the other colony that it was establishing in what is now the United States of America. It's called the Louisiana Purchase. Check it out, brothers and sisters. Yeah. So we don't deny what happens among us as African people, and so on and so forth. Even the fractures that resulted in the assassination of Jean-Jacques Dessalines were those that were festering because of the enslavement period. Yeah, it was fractures to do with class stratification and so on and so forth that existed during the enslavement period and how that affected the development of Haiti afterwards. It's a reality. There's always been Uncle Toms and Negroes among African people that are willing to do the bidding of the enslaver. They exist today. Yes, we're going to negate America's incursions into Haiti in the 1800s. We're going to negate the fact that America invaded and occupied Haiti for 20 years. This has nothing to do with the instability that Haiti is currently experiencing. It's nonsense. But remember, I said at the beginning of the show, remember I'm saying, this week we've had a good example of what I've been talking about for the entire show. Remember, I said it is the responsibility of the Black conservative industrial complex. Conservative, keyword, root word, conserve, to protect something, especially something of environmental or cultural importance, from harm or destruction. For some odd reason, these people have seen it as their mission in life to defend and protect white power. And that means defending and protecting them from significant criticism, because within that criticism is the analysis that we will use to uproot them from their power positions. There are American corporations operating all up and through Haiti. And no matter how destabilized Haiti is, those corporations are making millions and billions of dollars. In fact, the more unstable, the more money they make. The cheapening of the labor of the people of Haiti has nothing to do with a nation building agenda and Haiti going through the stages of rising up as a nation. If that was the case, Haiti would have rise up a long time, because nowhere has labor been exploited more in terms of cheap labor than Haiti. So no, it's either, if you cheapen your labor, it's a stage that you have to go through to rise up, as though that's the only variable. Yeah, no. What cheap labor does is that it serves the interest of white power for a period of time. Now, the difference is, for example, with China. China was engaged in a nation building agenda. And when they get to the point whereby they have developed enough to be able to utilize their own cheap labor, then that also becomes a problem for Britain and America. Then they start to put trade tariffs on China, engage in economic warfare with China, ban their technology coming out of China, try to negate the extent to which Chinese corporations have access to the global economy. That's what happens. Yeah. So once again, brothers and sisters, let it not be said that the people of Haiti don't have agency. The people of Haiti have always exercised their agency. And among what we see, among the destabilization that is taking place at the moment, there are people in Haiti, in fact, affecting their agency. The people of Congo affected their agency in the 1960s during the Simba Rebellion. The people of Jamaica affected their agency during the Black Power uprisings in the 70s. The people of Azania, South Africa, affected their agency when they were fighting against the white racist colonial regime of the Anglo-Boers. We affect our agency when we are organizing among ourselves on our own agenda, and because of our current reality, resisting those systems that are seeking to capture our nations economically and politically. We are not affecting our agency when we become clients of the system of white power, of white people and their systems, of the Bakra, the Mozungu, the Oyibo, the Obruni. When we become their clients and their advocates and their mouthpieces, that is not an act of agency on our part. That is us parroting and being clients of somebody else's agency. That within all. All right. Now, one thing that I said last week that I forgot to say this week in relation to something that IC3 said, and thank you for bringing this up. One thing I said last week was the fact that above the gentry and night class of the Black conservative industrial complex is the nobility and the aristocracy. These are realms that, as it's currently constituted, Black people tend not to be operating in. These classes are the power that is behind these clients. Yeah? I have to be clear about that. Okay? And in relation to Melaman's question, yeah, in terms of economists that predict. The Austrian school is a very broad school, yeah, and you know, the school goes back like over 100 years, yeah, as a school of economics. Okay, some of the more modern scholars in that school, I say more modern, you know, last 50, 60 years, you know what I'm saying, Murray Rothbard and Walter Block. Yeah, those are Austrian economists, Austrian School of Economics economists. Yeah, so you might want to check those two out. There are others, but yeah, you know, those are two of the more recent scholars in that regard. All right, so I hope that answers the question as far as the Austrian school is concerned. Important to note these things. Yeah, the Austrian school economics. It can be a difficult subject, but it's often not as difficult as one may think. So, if you are going to research these things, I hope that answer serves you well. Okay. All right, brothers and sisters, I'm going to conclude the show right there, sir. You know what I'm saying? As I said, next week, one way or another, we'll be dealing with Haiti. I may have a guest, or I may just be drawing from news sources, either interviews or articles, to go through some history. Okay. Yeah. We are not defenders of and apologists for white power and Western imperialism, Ronia. So we're going to be unapologetic in terms of the anti-imperialist and neo-colonial nature of our analysis. Yeah, that's just what it is. And anybody want to like that? I'll just let it go. With that, we say Tendai Mwali, be thankful unto the Mother, Father, creative life force of the universe, Kudzai, Mudzimu, Mokolo. We give praises unto our great ancestors. Abibi Tumi, Abibi Fahodi, African power and African liberation for all African people. Do you know what? Melaman, email me, yeah? Email me, blackmedia@gotkushTV. If you're looking to do something, I might have some things for you, yeah? So, yeah, blackmedia@gotkushTV.com. Or if you have me on any social media, holler at me, all right? Yeah. So the thing got Tendam worry. Be thankful unto the Mother, Father, creative life force of the universe, Kudzai, Modzimo, Mokolo. Give him praises unto our great ancestors. Abibi Tumi, Abibi Fahodi, African power and African liberation for all African people. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Ghana, democracy under fire. Delving deep into the political theater of Ghana in the lead up to the general election in December 2024. We welcome activist, organizer, and writer Bonchi Anyete as our regular co-host and analyst, breaking down the dynamics in his unique and entertaining way. Tune into our very first show, Decoding Ghana's Political Theater, Tuesday, the 27th of February, 2024, from 8 p.m. GMT, live on GKTV. and we look forward to you joining us every 4th Tuesday of the month throughout 2024. Ghana, they're more crazy under fire. This is a show not to be missed. Fire burn them dirty king, blaze up them dirty king, fire burn them king, send him disastrous, and time he fast with us, ancestors walk with us, fire burn them king.
Every year in the month of May, the chant liberation. We gather every year in the month of May, cause we are one black nation. And we celebrate all our victory and prepare for each new fight. We vanquish you all down better, whether black, yellow, brown or white. Cause black struggle international in this year time, and we want liberation now. After we struggle, I want in North America, me say we want liberation now. After we struggle, I want in the Caribbean, me say we want liberation now. After we struggle, I want in Canada, me say we want liberation now. After we struggle, I want in South America, me say we want liberation now. After we struggle, I want in Europe, me say we want liberation. No, after we struggle, I want in a Britain, man, me say we want liberation. No, after we struggle, I want in a Asia, me say we want liberation. No, after we struggle, I want in a Australia, me say we want liberation. No, and so we trot down the road and it a cause sensation behind the colors of the new black nation. I step into the valleys in the shadow of the wicked, just a chant liberation. Tell it to the nation. What we want to see is Africa strong and free. We sing it in a reggae song all the time. Say what is to be has got to be. Africa shall be free. Who are we? Africans. What do we want? Freedom. And we say, how do we get it? Fight. We must fight to defend the truth and defend the right. It's Africa Liberation Day. The true black spirit is here to stay. Before this power, no one life is here. Freedom come, what me? Freedom come, what me? And the white them who were standing by were watching fearful, wondering, saying, who are these people who walk so proud? Who are these people who chant so loud? Are these not they who live in darkness and to whom we have given light? Are these not the sons and daughters of the savage who we have taught to read and write? Have we not taught them our history and honor them with our culture? And brought them into our great house to serve and stand at our great table? Have we not granted them what they deserve? Well, African proverbs say that humble those who can listen can learn, and who can hear go and feel. We are the sheep of Jah pasture, and now we shall inherit our land. And we are also the lion, against who none shall stand. We are the sons and daughters of the original nation that gave to this world first knowledge of civilization. We were the victim of the white savage to who we stretch out our hand, and not knowing they came to plunder, kill and slave our people and destroy our land. So now we step it down the road and it a cause sensation behind the colors of the new black nation and a one chance liberation. And we say, who are we? Africans. What do we want? Freedom. And we say, how do we get it? Fight. We must fight. We defend the truth and defend the right. This is Africa Liberation Day. A true black spirit is here to stay. We bow this power, no one life this day. Freedom come, what me? A freedom come, what me? A freedom come, what me?